Right, we were at Truth or Dare. Aspen felt her stomach sinking through her body to the bottom of her feet and all the way down into the floor. All of a sudden, she felt sick. Aspen had played Truth or Dare with Pippa during their sleepovers before, and Aspen still bore the scars to that day. Pippa's imagination was inexhaustible, and it never failed to conjure up disgusting dares and excruciating truths. Once, Pippa had made Aspen eat a worm. Well, that's a very good friend. Another time, Pippa made Aspen climb inside the washing machine. When Aspen's mother had found her, she'd almost hit the roof. She'd shouted at Pippa, who'd been 6 years old at the time, and phoned her mother to come pick her up immediately. If her mother had been there now, she never would have let Pippa play such a dangerous game. But Aspen's mother wasn't there. Neither was her father. Aspen's parents were away on a cruise around the Mediterranean. The cruise had been booked almost a year in advance and tickets were hard to come by. Penny and James had offered to cancel when their daughter found Miss Lee, of course. They'd worried that being all alone in the house next to the sealed-off mortuary where Miss Lee's corpse had been found might disturb their only daughter. Aspen, however, had reassured them that she would be all right. In fact, she'd insisted that they go. She wasn't a child, she was almost 17, and she could look after herself. If she ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer presence of Miss Lee's memory, she could invite Pippa and Valkii over, and her mother liked Valkii. She thought she was sensible. When it came to Pippa, she was a little less keen. Unfortunately, inviting Pippa and Valkii over seemed to be doing more harm to Aspen's tenuous mental state than good. Aspen was beginning to wonder whether she might have been better off alone after all, with nothing but her memories for company. At least they couldn't ask too many probing questions, or make her climb into any washing machines. This Truth or Dare. Valkii, who'd met Pippa and Aspen in secondary school and didn't know anything about the washing machine incident, frowned. What is it exactly? It's simple. One player gets to be in charge of the other two. The leader asks the others truth or dare. If they pick truth, they have to answer any question they're asked truthfully. Or they can pick dare, then the leader can give them a command and they have to fulfill it. It's like the law. Can the leader pick any truth and any dare? That's right, within reason. I see. Interesting. What cat is breathing heavily? Aspen looked at Valkii hopefully. She prayed that her friend would look down her nose at this proposed party game, as she did with so many things, and deride it as being beneath her. Well, I suppose it isn't too childish if you ask the right questions. Aspen's face blanched. Valkii had let her down, and she didn't even seem to realize it. You've never played Truth or Dare with Pippa before, have you? No, I haven't. Why? Is there something I need to know? It's just, her dares can be quite creative. What? Are you still sore about the washing machine thing, Aspen? Aspen wasn't literally sore about it now, but she had been at the time. Though her parents had quite a large, fancy washing machine, it had been a gift from James's father. It was made for trousers and jumpers, not 6-year-old girls. Aspen had always been short and slight, but climbing into that washing machine had been quite a squeeze. She'd been terrified she wouldn't be able to get back out again, and she'd managed to bruise her right arm most fabulously. Maybe Aspen's me from another life. And maybe one day I had a friend called Pippa when I was 6. I don't really remember much from when I was 6, so maybe. And maybe this girl, Pippa, she dared me to get into a washing machine, and then I was scared I wouldn't get back out, and that's where my claustrophobia came from. Who knows? It had been purple and green for weeks afterwards. Valkii, who was none the wiser, blinked curiously. What washing machine thing? It's a long story. Aspen, it's really fucking not. Don't get bent out of shape about it, Aspen. It was years ago. I'm not that immature. You kept making little balls with the soldering iron in tech last term and flicking them at Colin with your ruler. Well, he deserved it. He kept making fun of my hair. Mr. Langley wasn't very happy when he found out about it. Mr. Langley isn't happy about anything. Stupid old git. Pippa huffed at the injustice of it all, her arms folded. Pippa was something of a wild child. When she wasn't coercing 6-year-olds into washing machines, granted that only happened once, Aspen, let it go. Girl, let it go. Stop bringing it up. You brought it up like 5 times. Shut up. She was getting into arguments with Colin Murphy and his friends about her hair. Aspen sometimes wondered if Pippa would have been less fiery if she didn't get teased about her hair so often. Maybe Pippa acted loud and brash to deter people from making rude comments, not that it ever worked. So, they make fun of her for being a ginger? I'm not saying that's not a thing, it definitely is, but that's it? I mean, if she didn't have ginger hair, they'd just find something else to make fun of her for. Guaranteed. Not that there's anything wrong with her, but bully's gonna bully, you know? And again, like, not to get too deep, but I was bullied, and, you know, no matter what I did, they found something to bully me for. So I'm just saying, it's unfortunate that you happen to be ginger, but there would be something else. Anyway, enough about that. Pippa clapped her hands together. Truth or dare, let's start. Do we have to? Of course we have to, we've already decided. We have. Aspen looked at Valkii. Do you really want to play? Why not? It might be interesting. But don't look so sad, Aspen. I'm not going to make you get into any more washing machines. You wouldn't fit. This is the last time you're allowed to bring up the washing machine, Pippa and Aspen. That hadn't deterred Pippa in the past, but Aspen decided to keep tum. I don't know what that word is, I'm sorry. That's not a British word as far as I'm aware. It was 2 against 1, she couldn't win. Aspen had very few friends as it was. She didn't want to alienate the only friends she had somehow miraculously managed to cling to throughout secondary school, strange though they were. Oh, alright, we can play if you really want to. Great, I knew you'd see it my way. Our way. That's right. So... Pippa smiled mischievously. Aspen didn't like that smile. She didn't like it one little bit. Is she gonna dare her to go into the house? Since I'm the one who decided on the game, I think I should go first. Any objections? Is this a kinetic visual novel? I just realized that I don't know that. Let me look. Rituals in the dark. Is it kinetic? It is kinetic. I don't usually like kinetic story. I don't usually like kinetic visual novels, rather. Okay, but fine. None here. I guess not. Great, then I'll ask you first, Valkii, since you've never played it before. Truth or dare? See, this... when you take away the choices and giving you things to do other than... You know what? Sometimes you don't even need anything to do. I was looking for any things. Usually there's an auto function that you can set to whatever. So it can go as fast or as slow as you want. And you don't even need to do anything. It's just something playing before your eyes. And I feel like that does take the game out of it. So when you don't put any choices in, I do feel... maybe that's me being elitist about visual novels, because I've always played visual novels with choices. I wouldn't even consider the Higurashi visual novels like games. I kind of wouldn't. They are visual novels, but when you put in choices, it becomes, again, fast and loose with the word, but it becomes more like a game, in my opinion anyway, because you're actually doing something, you're actually contributing, other than just pressing enter or letting the auto function go. I don't know. That's why I'm not a big fan of kinetic novels. I barely even started the Higurashi visual novels. I should start them because I love everything about that. I love the manga. I love the anime. Most of the anime. Yeah, anyway, that's not to go off on a tangent. That's what I'm amazing at, apparently. Great, then I'll ask you first, Valkii, since you've never played before. Truth or dare? Truth. Valkii answered without batting an eyelid. She looked utterly calm and composed in her sheer nightgown, almost like a stone effigy. Alright then, since you've never played this game before, I'll ask you something that'll really make you squirm. I don't squirm. Valkii was right, she didn't squirm, not even when the boys at school made fun of her foreign name or her foreign family or her teeth, which were slightly crooked and seemed overlarge in her small, delicate mouth. This is what I'm talking about. If Pippa wasn't ginger, they would just find something else to bully her about, like they found other things to bully Valkii about, even though she looks like normal, you know? Like a normal, pretty teenager. So does Pippa, but I guess this is the anime art style that's doing it. Like, Pippa even looks like she has Medusa hair. Is that why she gets bullied, not because of her ginger hair? Valkii hadn't even squirmed in biology when Mr. Peters, whom Aspen suspected was a sociopath, showed them videos of live maggots being picked out of people's skin. Valkii never blushed. It was almost as though her bronze skin was completely bloodless. Well, if you're so sure, then how about this? Oh, when you masturbate, who do you usually think of? Pippa! Aspen's eyes widened, her face flooded scarlet, as though she'd been asked the question, not Valkii. You can't say that. Say what? Masturbate? No, I mean, that's personal. That's the whole point, stupid. It wouldn't be truth or dare if it wasn't. But I don't know why you're getting so worked up anyway. I asked Valkii, not you, unless you'd like to join in. No, that isn't. Simply thinking about something so personal, let alone sharing it with her friends, was enough to make Aspen blush to the tips of her ears. I just think it's a bit too far. That question is definitely intrusive. Oh, aren't you going to answer? Just so you know, if you can't answer a question or complete a dare, you'll be punished. How will we be punished? Maybe I'll text my brother and tell him you have a crush on him, Valkii. No, thank you. Do you hate my brother that much? I don't hate him, I just don't want to acknowledge his existence. Pippa's older brother, Aaron, was 19. He hadn't managed to get into his university of choice, or any university for that matter, and he was waiting to retake his A-levels while working part-time at McDonald's. He was the kind of person who liked to wear offensive shirts, tell offensive jokes, and laugh too loudly at things that weren't very funny. Whenever Valkii and Aspen went to Pippa's house, Aaron tried to flirt with Valkii. He largely ignored Aspen. Valkii regarded him much like one would regard an insect and kept her distance. Well, if you don't want to be my sister-in-law, you better answer the question. Truthfully, please. Who do you think about when you masturbate? Valkii sighed. She closed her eyes. If you really want to know, Ayushman Khurrana. Huh? Pippa looked at Valkii blankly. Come again? He's an actor. I knew you wouldn't have heard of him. Hey, that's not fair. You can't choose somebody we obviously wouldn't know. It's not my fault you're uncultured. I gave you an honest answer, so my turn should be over. I guess, but... Pippa scowled, evidently annoyed. Alright, whatever. It's your turn now, Aspen. Truth or dare? Well, Aspen dropped her gaze to her knees. Her face was still spotted light pink with remnants of leftover embarrassment on Valkii's behalf. She could have chosen truth, she supposed. But what if Pippa asked her an unpleasant, intrusive question? The thought was painful. Would it perhaps be better to choose dare, then? Pippa could think of some extremely nasty dares, but weren't they a little too old to eat worms? Plus, as Pippa had already assured her, Aspen really was too big to fit inside the washing machine now. Come on, Aspen, the clock is ticking. Is there a time limit? I might have to impose one if Aspen keeps dithering. If you can't make up your mind, I'll punish you. Now, I wonder what I'll do. Aspen's pinched, pale face turned paler still. If Pippa intended to punish her regardless of what she did, she might as well make her decision now and get it over with. And so it was, her stomach tying itself into knots, that Aspen slowly said, dare. Yeah. Then I choose dare. Alright, now that's what I'm talking about. Pippa punched her fist in the air triumphantly. Valkii, meanwhile, raised one of her slender brown eyebrows. That was brave of you. I just hope it wasn't too foolish. Don't worry, Aspen. I know you're a baby, so I won't go too hard on you. I'll make it easy. Don't make it too easy. It wouldn't be fair after what you asked me. Valkii, whose side are you on anyway? I don't take sides. That would be immature. Well, don't worry, you two. I have a really good idea for your dare, Aspen. You're not gonna shut me up inside more small enclosed spaces, are you? They'd studied the cask of Amontillado in English that year, and Aspen didn't want Pippa getting any ideas. Don't worry so much. I might be planning to shut you up, but it won't be anywhere small or enclosed. Where then? Can't you guess? Oh yeah, I knew this was coming. I'm not very good at guessing games. Please, Pippa, just tell me. Christ, you don't have any imagination, do you? Alright then. An unpleasant smile captured the corners of Pippa's lips. I want you to break into Miss Lee's house. Okay. So firstly, bad fucking friend. Bad friend. Your friend was traumatized in there from seeing a dead body of the person who used to live there, and you want her to now re-enter that house, which would probably be illegal since it's not her house and it would still be breaking and entering, right? Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong about the law on that since no one currently lives there. I'm not sure. But yeah, bad friend, Pippa. This is so stupid. Oh, you're all out in your nightie, are you? Valkii tutted, her slender arms crossed over her chest. It was near the end of August, and though it was a cool night, it wasn't uncomfortably so. Valkii stood outside Miss Lee's home, backlit by the garish orange light of the nearby lampposts and sighed. She was still wearing her sheer nightgown with the thin straps. The nightgown stopped at Valkii's mid-thigh, exposing her knees and a generous portion of her slender leg. Though her otherwise bare feet were encased in her white wedge heels, the rest of Valkii was exposed to the elements. The wind ran through her short brown hair so it fluttered. In the midnight streets, bathed with artificial light and framed by the round moon, Valkii looked strangely ghostly. Pippa, meanwhile, was much more corporeal, with her pink cheeks and her red hair. She was comfortingly solid and real on this dark, dark night. But just how comforting was Pippa really when it was through her continued insistences that the three girls had come outside in the first place. They were the only people outside, which was to be expected. It was almost midnight. Aspen lived on a quiet street, and it had grown quieter still once the doors and windows of Miss Lee's house had been boarded up and the squatters had been driven out. It was deathly silent, save for the sound of the wind through the trees and the dim, distant din of a cawing bird. The silence did little to comfort Aspen. Instead, it made her feel even more anxious. Surely it was too late to play silly games like this. If her mother had been home, she would never have allowed Aspen to go outside at such an hour. But her mother wasn't home. She was on a boat that was slowly cruising through the Mediterranean, doubtless enjoying weather that was a good deal warmer and sunnier than it was in Scarborough. Aspen swallowed. Her saliva tasted like ashes. I'm pretty sure I lived... Was it? I think it was an S. It began with an S. It definitely began with an S. You know, I'm gonna Google where it is. Because I'm not actually sure, because not every English person knows exactly where things are on the map, but we have a rough idea. Like I know where Yorkshire is. It is okay. It's near York. stupid. Maybe I shouldn't just look at the map. Yeah, Scarborough. Okay, it's Shire country, North Yorkshire. Okay, so it is. I figured it was. Okay, let's go back inside Pippa. Because I did live there. Was it Scarborough though? I don't remember. Okay, we can't go back inside. Not when we came all the way. You're going to do the dare, Aspen, and that's final. But the windows are all boarded up and so's the front door. There's no way inside. Then let's go around the back. There must be some way you can get in. But Aspen didn't have enough time to argue back. Pippa seized hold of Aspen's hand with her own. A few moments ago, Aspen had found the unquestionable corporeality of Pippa's body a comfort. Now it was more like a curse. Pippa dragged Aspen around to the rear of Miss Lee's house, pushing open the small wooden gate that divided the front garden from the back. The gate was unlocked. It opened with a piercing creak that sounded far too loud in the stillness of the night. Sorry, I needed to bring the game back open. The recording software back open. Aspen's heart pounded harder and harder. Now the three of them were standing in Miss Lee's back garden, or what had once been her back garden. Aspen had been there herself on a few occasions when Miss Lee had been alive. When it was sunny, the pair of them would sometimes take tea there at the white patio table with the matching chairs. The table was still in Miss Lee's garden, and so was one of the chairs. The other was curiously absent. The moonlight illuminated the latticework pattern of the once familiar table, now rendered unfamiliar by the darkness. If the front garden was overgrown, that was nothing compared to the back. During the last 6 months, dandelions and white clovers had sprouted everywhere. The grass had grown long and unruly, with nettles nestled inside, ready to sting unsuspecting legs. Miss Lee's old pear trees, which she had loved to distraction, Ivor had planted them, seemed more crooked than ever before, but maybe that was the trick of the light. Yeah, trees aren't gonna just like die or become more whatever just because you don't do anything to them. They kind of do their own thing. Like, I have an apple tree and it just does its own thing. I never have to do anything to it. And it gives a lot of apples. A lot. Those trees had always been crooked. Yeah, there you go. Even when Miss Lee was still alive. Aspen couldn't stand in the garden forever, marveling at what ravages time had wrought. And at that precise moment, she was rather more concerned about her own imminent fate. There, I knew it. Pippa pointed at the leftmost window at the bottom of the house, which Aspen knew led into the kitchen. From what she recalled, it overlooked the sink. The basin and the taps would be right underneath it. Somebody, maybe one of the squatters or else a scavenger, had removed the plywood that had stoppered up the window. The window had been smashed. The glass pane was eerily absent, like the entrance of a cave. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. That was something Aspen's dad used to say about her room in jest when she'd let her clothes and dirty plates pile up. It was from Dante, the Divine Comedy. Aspen had never read it. Aspen faced the window of Miss Lee's old home, her face pale and bloodless. You're not suggesting I climb in through the window, are you? Well, how else are you going to get inside? Aspen took a step backwards. I don't think this is a good idea. You're not chickening out, are you? It just doesn't look very safe. What if I cut myself? You'll be fine, Aspen. Stop worrying. But that window, it leads to the kitchen. That's where I found Miss Lee. Oh, I see. Pippa smiled mischievously. You're not afraid you'll run into the old woman's ghost, are you? I don't believe in ghosts. Then what's the problem? You can go in there for a few measly minutes, can't you? But it wasn't the ghosts Aspen was afraid of. It was her own memories. They were already starting to come back to her, but Aspen knew they'd never really left. Even now, her dreams were interrupted by images of Miss Lee, slumped back in that chair with her eyes rolled back and her mouth sagging open. I need to sneeze. Bloody cat fur. Okay. How could she explain that to Pippa? Pippa had never seen a dead body. She wouldn't understand. Pippa was too dynamic, too lively, too cheerful, too oblivious to ever worry that one day even she would shuffle off this mortal coil. It happened to the best of us. The worst of us. It happened to everyone, even sweet old ladies like Miss Lee, who might have been a bit creepy, but who'd never meant anything bad. But Valkii was beginning to get impatient. She glanced around Miss Lee's disorderly garden and frowned. If you're going to go inside, Aspen, you should hurry up. Oh? Are you getting cold, Valkii? Not really. Valkii, who never admitted to any weakness, rolled her eyes. I'm just bored. Same here. Get your act together, Aspen. You're being boring. Pippa is such a shit friend. She's so shit. She's like, hey, if you don't do this, you're boring. That's bullying. Aspen isn't, like, immune from bullying, even from her fucking friends. She became, like, an overnight celebrity because she saw a fucking corpse. How does that make sense? Although I guess in school, you know, whatever, fucking drama, people will just latch onto. So now she's the girl who saw a corpse. But her friend, Pippa, is a piece of shit. And her friend, Valkii, doesn't really give a shit about anything. She has shit friends. I hope this is addressed at some point, because what Pippa's doing is so shit. That is making me mad. And Aspen is also making me mad, because she's not saying no. She's not saying, I don't want to do this fucking stupid shit, Pippa. Stop this bullshit. Like, you don't know how this affected me. Fuck off. Anyway, before I start getting mad, Pippa. Aspen looked at her friend, who didn't seem very friendly right now, with hopeful eyes. Can't I change my mind? Can I say truth instead? Nope, that's against the rules. Then I'll let you punish me. You can do whatever you want. Whatever I want? That's right. Then your punishment is to go inside Miss Lee's house. She's so fucking shit. But that's not fair. It's not fair that you're making us wait for so long. I have better things to do with my time. She doesn't have one single good friend. It's fucking sad. But come on, Aspen. It's just an old house. There's nothing to be scared of. You only need to go inside for a few minutes, that's all. Valkii made it sound so easy, but Valkii, unlike like Pippa, had never seen a dead body. She wasn't the one who discovered Miss Lee. She didn't know how Aspen had felt when she pushed open the kitchen door on that day, still innocent and unassuming, to be confronted without any warnings by Death. Death rarely gave warnings. Death had been cruel to Miss Lee, but it had been cruel to Aspen too. It had shown her something she was too young to process, something she wasn't ready for. Now, Pippa and Valkii were asking her to confront it all over again. To them, this was just a game, but Aspen was being forced to relive one of her worst nightmares. But what could she say? Pippa's fingers found Aspen's shoulders. She pushed the limp, unresisting girl onwards towards the gaping window with its shattered glass. Come on, Aspen, I just want you to go in there for 5 minutes tops. We'll wait for you outside. We won't go anywhere. Do you promise? That's right. Pippa smiled her Pippa smile, her teeth large and white in the light of the moon. Gently, tenderly, she let her hands fall from Aspen's shoulders. She entwined her fingers with her friends and gave them a gentle squeeze. It doesn't make you a good friend. Fuck off, don't touch me. I promise. But, as it transpired, climbing in through the window was no easy task. Aspen might have been small of stature, but she wasn't particularly coordinated. She had no sense of balance. That was why she'd quit ballet. She didn't have the knack. Aspen's clumsiness was intensified by her fear as she tried to maneuver herself through the empty, gaping window frame. Though the glass had long since been knocked out of the pane, Aspen worried some residual shards remained, lying in wait to gouge chunks of flesh out of her unprotected hands. I see glass there. Glass here. Glass here. Glass here. Glass here. Glass here. And glass up there. So yeah. Aspen's fingers tensed as she lifted herself upwards. She could feel her knuckles turning white. All of a sudden, her body felt heavy, a dead, leaden weight. That's right, Aspen, you can do it. What are you, her cheerleader? I'm just giving Aspen a bit of moral support. She looks like she could use it. Aspen was too focused on the task at hand to spare Valkii a glance, but she could feel the raised eyebrow in the other girl's words. I don't suppose Aspen will ever make it as a burglar. Of course not. Our Aspen is a good, pure girl. Though this is technically breaking and entering. What did I say? What did I say? There was no breaking. The window was already broken. Besides, nobody lives here anymore. I don't think Miss Lee will mind. The local council might. Then we'll just have to keep quiet, won't we? That was easier said than done. Pippa, in her excitement, was making enough noise for 5 people. Sooner than she had expected at least, Aspen found herself perched cat-like on the windowsill. She looked down into the kitchen, which was dark and murky. With her back obscuring the moon, it was hard to see more than 3 feet into the room before her. Aspen teetered uneasily and shifted, trying to regain her balance. I'm not sure about this. Oh, come on, Aspen, you're almost in. I know, but... No buts, it's too late to back out now. But, if you can't go inside yourself, I'll have to help you. All of a sudden, Pippa was upon her, her pyjama sleeves rolled back, revealing pink forearms, splashed here and there with freckles. The palms of Pippa's hands rested upon Aspen's shoulders. Now, in you go. But Pippa... You don't need to worry about anything. Valkii and I will be waiting for you, we already said. Isn't that right, Valkii? Break a leg, not literally. Thanks for the warning. And make sure you don't run into any ghosts. Aspen knew Pippa was being silly, was she trying to lighten the mood? But it didn't make her feel any better. At least it didn't make her feel worse. Hey, here's an idea. If you do see a ghost, why don't you take a photo of it? You brought your phone with you, right? It's in my pocket, but... Good, then make sure you snap away. I doubt you'll see any ghosts, but I am rather curious about that house. I wonder how many of the old woman's things are still in there. Dunno, I figured the squatters would have stolen most of it. Aspen gazed fitfully into the blackness that had once been Miss Lee's kitchen. It was in this space overlooking the back garden that Miss Lee had prepared cups of tea and arranged biscuits on her rose-patterned plates, all the while humming under her breath. But Miss Lee wasn't there anymore. Only the memories remained. I hope there aren't any squatters still here. If there were, we would have heard them by now. Or they would have heard us. But what will I do if there is somebody in there? Leg it? Aspen sighed. What wonderful advice. You're just fussing over nothing, Aspen. Stop working yourself up. If you run into anybody scary, I'll call the police, okay? Aspen was doubtful calling the police would be a wise idea in this situation, given what she was about to do. In fact, the police might prove to be scarier than the imagined squatters. She wouldn't get arrested for this, would she? We'll see about that in the next video. Bye.